All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for taking time out of your week to come out here and engage with me, engage with the school district, and hopefully we can cover a lot of different topics and I can answer questions or at least provide you a pathway towards a solution by getting you a contact to the district if I don't have the answer or whatever. So again, thank you for coming. I did want to let you know, number one, this meeting is being recorded. They're going to post it tomorrow. So I just wanted to make that disclosure. Also, we do have a Spanish speaking translator in case somebody needs it. Thank you. And then I also, just for some housekeeping purposes, I wanted to turn it over to our amazing Liberty High School principal, Mr. Derek over here.
Thank you.
He's my favorite principal. He's going to tell us where bathrooms are, about all the amazing grub in the back, and all the things.
Okay. Welcome. Everything she said was true, except I'm not amazing. But there are two amazing administrators here I did want to introduce you to. Our fabulous principal at Silvestri Middle School, Miss Tippett is here.
Hey.
And then brand new to our family, but one of our assistant principals here at Liberty, Miss Gladkovich is here.
Hey.
So, couple things. Bathrooms, I know there's some maintenance being done right outside. I apologize for that. Bathrooms all downstairs are open right below us. That's number one. And then number two, I need you to eat, because we may have over-ordered. No, I need more than just snacks, sir, with all due respect. There are chicken fingers, chicken wings, mozzarella sticks. There are Philly cheesesteaks back there. Listen, this is Trustee Stevens. We do it right here at Liberty, right? We don't play around. So please eat, and if you need anything, grab Miss Gladkovich or I, and we will be happy to assist you, okay? All right, welcome. It's good to have you here.
You can tell he's used to feeding teenagers.
Yes.
With this menu. It's fantastic. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate you. Okay, so I could stand here and talk to you about all kinds of things, about what's being worked on, but I think what I'd rather do is I want to hear from you. That's really why I'm here. That's why we do this. We do this to hear from the community. So maybe we can open it with questions and answers, Q&A, we'll get through that. And then if there's any time kind of towards the end, we can wrap up with if there were certain topics that maybe were missed that I think you guys should really be aware of, things that we are really excited about, I can share those at the end if we don't touch on them during the Q&A. Is that fair? Okay, so I'm actually gonna sit down and make this as conversational and as casual with you guys as possible. And if you have a hard time hearing me, then I'll stand, because I think my voice elevates better when I stand. And if you are a quiet speaker and you'd like a microphone, we have one that we can get to you, okay? So I'm gonna open it up to you guys. You came out, I wanna know what's important to you, what you wanna talk about.
I'll start with something very easy.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hi, my name is Clarence Shaw. This is easy. What would you suggest newcomers like myself, who've been in communities, we've dealt with school districts that are trying to improve, and what would you suggest to persons like me is moving into the community and that we really want to get involved in terms of helping the district move forward? Bond measures, levies, etc., volunteerism. What would you recommend to people like myself who want to get out in the community and get this thing moving along with yourself? Thank you.
I love that question, Clarence. Thanks for coming, and welcome to Vegas. Welcome to your community. So I would say the first place is to try to get a meeting with your trustee. So it's interesting, every trustee is given the ability to appoint people to multiple committees, and these committees really help the trustees know what direction to go in certain areas. So for example, we appoint people to the Sex Ed Recommending Committee. That's a big one. We appoint people to the Bond Oversight Committee. We appoint people to the Audit Committee. We appoint people to AZAC, which is all about zoning. So, and these are all volunteer positions, and we are constantly in need of folks who, if you have an expertise in any of these fields, we need you. We also need people to, I think our district might be getting a little tired of all the surveys. There's a lot of surveys that have been going out, but we need you to get on the surveys. We really do look at the data. The district is looking at the data from these surveys to determine how to move forward in certain areas. So get on the website, look for opportunities where you can let your voice be heard. That's huge. Get a hold of your trustee, see where you can be of service, and search around the website a little bit. There's another department that you can find on the website as well called Family Engagement, and they do a ton of community work. And so that's another great way to engage and see where they need help, because we're always looking for volunteers. Thank you, Clarence. Anybody else? No?
Emily,
Oh, here we go.
not in your area, but I've worked with the board for years, and we've seen over the last year a real improvement in the professionalism of the board.
At the bottom.
Now,
There she is.
and we've seen, I've seen, I think, and others too, the professionalism of the board improved so much in the last year. And now, where you really take the reins as the president and have that, what do you anticipate maintaining what this current professionalism is that Irene's brought on, and maybe you can tell us a little bit how you're going to do that, because I think the board has made great strides in working and especially engaging the community. I just got an invitation to some dream thing that's going to go on. I get excited. You've got the students coming back and reporting at the board meetings. So just tell me a little bit about continuing on with what the board has been doing.
Thank you, Sheila. That's a great question. It's a team effort. It's not just the board. When we elected a superintendent like Superintendent Ebert, who came in with a very strong vision and all of her experience and expertise, it really created an excitement with the board that has made everybody, no matter the differences, it has made everybody very excited and I think a little bit more willing to work together. I got to give a shout out to Irene. She did a really great job. She was kind of thrown in, right after 4 board members were voted out. And we had an interim super at the time, and there was a lot going on, and she handled it with such grace. She did a great job of bringing everybody together. But the other thing that we did was we voted on the type of governance. And I know this is a very boring topic, but governance determines how we act as a board. It helps us put our policies together. It gives us some consistency where we are all in agreement, this is how we're going to move forward. And so when we voted on balanced governance, we have a third party, if you would. His name is Dr. Alsbury. He comes in and he's done some trainings with us, and that has really helped every single board member get on the same level in understanding that this is the path forward, this is how we work together, and this is how we keep that professionality going, or professionalism, I should say. The other thing that we're doing right now to add to that is now we're taking all of our policies and we're redoing them. Some of these policies are very, very old. Some of them are inconsistent with other policies that were brought on at different times. And so we're taking all of that and we're dumping it and saying, let's get consistent. Let's make sure every single policy is reflective of governance, of balanced governance. And what's great is the whole board is on board with it. So I think that as long as we continue down that trajectory, we're going to be in good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I am a Slack speaker. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
So I did prepare some words just because I am not used to speaking up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
remotely elected position. My name is Katie Harlan, and I'm a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice. But I'm coming as a community member and as a mom, most importantly. I have one son who's in the second year in the Clark County School District, and I have another child who will start kindergarten here very soon. And I actually moved to Las Vegas because of the racial diversity, and my husband and I know that racial diversity makes us a more stronger and safer environment. And since moving here, I tried to, before I jump into solutions or suggestions, just really come and attend as many of these kind of meetings, as well as the formal school board meetings, to listen and learn and understand what's going on in Clark County School District. And over my time, I've heard public testimony that's really stayed with me, to put it lightly. I've heard about racial disparities in discipline for Black students. I've heard parents describe being criminalized for advocating for their children, and I've heard many parents and family members say their children were called racial slurs and faced physical harm even as early as elementary school, and also that the response afterward has fell short. I also recognize that this is part of a broader conversation around racial violence that we're facing in 2026, and I think we can all agree that right now requires us to really have courageous leadership, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, grounded in our shared values and our highest principles. So I'm not sharing any of this to place blame on you or anyone on the school board, but I do think that these experiences that families are sharing, they carry with them long after the meetings end. And so organizations like Surge will continue to work to amplify these voices, but collective harm also requires collective care. And so I'm counting on you and the rest of the board, as I know many families are, to take action. And so I understand that the structure of the school board meetings do not allow you to actually respond to public comment. I also know that the specific examples that I cited, you probably are not able to speak to directly. So I rather just you have more of a general reflection around why this is important to you. Are you hearing what I'm hearing within those meetings, and why it's important for you, either as a mom or as the newly appointed school board member or president, why, really addressing systemic racism is important to you.
So I would say, in terms of some of the more specific things that you're talking about, stories, testimonies from folks when they come to public, they come give public comment. You're right. We don't speak back for multiple reasons, but we do listen. We take note. Especially, most of us will pay attention to what district that person is, and we kind of take ownership in just finding out, like, hey, did that person get followed up with? But 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, what we're seeing, especially from the meetings, you'll see a family who is very clearly upset. And we hear them, we're glad. That's why public meetings are there. That's why public comment exists. It's so important that you have a voice. It's so important that Surge shows up. It's very, very important that we have different voices coming to the table and saying, hey, did you know about this? Because a lot of times it doesn't make it all the way up, right? And so I love that we have families that are willing to come and speak up. What's great, though, about CCSD, I will say, under our superintendent's direction, she keeps her staff there on purpose during these meetings. So if a person is very upset and they have a situation going on, you can watch the superintendent. She'll make eye contact with one of her staff, because this is what we consider operations, right? So the board does not have any. We have one employee, and it's Joan Ebert. So because of that, we don't get involved in operations, but we are in charge of oversight, right? And we are in charge of that one employee. So what we will do is Joan will send out her team. They will often follow that family out. They will find out what's going on. They will address it. I'll give you a good example. This isn't necessarily a racial issue. Actually, there were some comments that made it that. But I think it was Silvestri, actually. It was the football thing, right? It was the big football club, and there was a lot of contention in the room around that topic, and man, did everybody show up. That was one of my earlier meetings as a new trustee, and it was my region, and so I remember going to the superintendent at that time, which was not Joan. It was Miss Brenda Mitchell Larson. And she worked very closely with principal. She worked very closely with the regional soup, and they tried to find a solution for those folks, for those families. And it wasn't easy, but it takes community members and parents, as well as district staff, to look for a solution together. I think one of the frustrations sometimes on either side, it can happen on either side, is when you have two parties that should be looking for a solution, but if one party is only there to make complaints, it doesn't move forward very easily, right? And so I ask of the community, when you come to public meeting, I hope you're coming with the idea that we are looking for solutions, and we hope you're looking for solutions too, because that's how we move it forward, and that's how we make this district better.
Yeah, and so I understand that I appreciate you talking about the process, but as a parent who does care about racial diversity and, you know, the protection of our students, it would be helpful to kind of hear a little bit just about, from more of a personal perspective, around why you think that Clark County School District should be taking racial equity seriously.
So to be honest, I think we do. I know for a fact, because I see it come through, there's emails going out regularly to faculty and staff saying, you have to take a mandated course on the fact that you might have a bias, like, so you learn about your biases. Then you have to take another course about racial injustice and gender equity and all of these different topics to make sure that every single child gets treated the same, right? That's essentially what equity is, right? You're trying to make sure that everybody gets treated with the same respect because they all deserve it. Where we fail is where every school district fails. It's when you have folks that sometimes get hired that maybe shouldn't have got hired, but they came through, there was a problem, and now we have to take care of that. And it happens. And it's really unfortunate when it does. But that is nationwide. We are always going to have imperfect people educating imperfect children and trying to figure out how to work together and create a level of equity for everyone so that everybody feels respected in the classroom. And that includes the teachers too. So I think for me, from what I've seen, I know for a fact that our faculty and staff it is a priority for them to get that training. It is a priority to this district, and they continue to move that forward. Yeah, I can tell you have more.
I've been attending the meetings and I'm aware of the dynamics that are happening outside of the meetings as well. So it just would be helpful to know that, like, the president of the school board does actually care too. I don't think you're trying to go around the question, but
You want me to tell you that I care?
Yeah. Do you think that, like, addressing racial equity and ensuring that all, you're mentioning like that all students.
Yes, racial equity matters. And I do care, and I cannot speak for all of our board members. I wish I could, but I will say that we are a team, and I know that every single board member is there for the right reason. We all want to do what's right for our kids. So while I cannot speak for them in that, I can speak for myself. Yes, it matters, but I can tell you this board cares about our kids, and we want all of our students to be treated respectfully. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? All right, here goes Ed.
I think you're the one who's most worried. My name's Ed Gonzalez. I sit on a couple SOTs that are outside your community, and I do raise a child that's goes to Green Valley High School, so it's just in. I've been a resident at one point of District A, but when you draw the line, sometimes you get moved out. But my question has to do. You talked about your one employee. It seems like the big word is accountability, and you got the legislature. And I'm glad some principals are here, where it's like it's almost a schizophrenic, which is I want you guys to have more local control. I want you to have more of a say, but then the legislature also wants to hold the school district, the school board, and the superintendent responsible. And it's hard to figure out what is what when it's like, if the superintendent is gonna be held accountable, then decisions need to be made up at that level. If I'm gonna hold a principal accountable, then the principal has to not be like a McDonald's manager and has to have some flexibility and stuff. So the question I have for you is, what do you see as accountability? And I'm gonna take a step back to give an example. I sit on the SOT at Hickey. We just got a new principal. It was one of the first hires that Superintendent Ebert did. We interviewed during the process where it was a change, and then she was the final decision. We went from a one-star school, which we are at now, and we see the trajectory just shooting through the roof. I think we made the great pick. I don't want to say what her goal is because I would never want to say that publicly on the camera, but I legitimately think we can go from a 1 to a 3 because she has implemented what you would consider some of the basic things you would have, which is making sure you're doing RTI and making sure staff is doing stuff, what you guys do in observations, what you do on a daily basis. And so I get excited on that. I get excited when I see a change in the community. But that's one example of something, and that's not really the superintendent doing a lot of that because when the principal does something, it's a very different level than the superintendent. So the question I have for you is that when you talk about accountability, I know you're having conversations in public about that, what do you see the accountability for you're gonna hold on the superintendent in your mindset, and then sort of like a little bit where you think it might go down to the schools?
Great question. So, like you said, we have the one employee. So if there's a situation that we become aware on, let's say there's something going on at a school and maybe we heard through the grapevine that something's going on with this principal or whatnot and everybody knows it and whatever. And then there's no accountability. At that point, we can go to our superintendent and say, hey, can you tell us a little bit about this, right? And if a board member is not satisfied with what the superintendent's leadership is in that accountability, we can then hold her accountable. We can't hold those principals accountable. And the way it works is with the way we're doing balanced governance, it's kind of like how we do things on a corporate level. You do annual or biannual reviews of your people, or maybe you do regular reviews of your people. With balanced governance, we are doing superintendent evaluations, and I believe we're doing them twice a year. So if I, as a trustee, am feeling like she's not doing her part in holding folks in the district accountable, I can put that in her evaluation.
Can I ask it in a different way?
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a negative. There's situations and principals will say, these are the tools that I need to do stuff. There are times where when we talk about accountability, we bury them in paperwork. I mean, there was one point where the teacher evaluation system, I remember a high school colleague said, if I did this exactly the way it was, I would literally have one AP do this all year, and they still wouldn't finish it.
I've
and
heard
at
that
the elementary
before.
level, it'd be the entire job of an AP. Like, there'd be nothing else going on. And then when you add the anti-bullying, and I know Trustee Edwards, who I was talking to previously about that, and would experience that too, and she was a board member because it happened during that time, where it's like, that would be all I do. I wouldn't be talking about student achievement. So I guess the question too is, as you talk about accountability, I'm hoping in that conversation is hearing from the bottom up where they're saying, we have issues that can be solved, even if it takes it up to what the legislature is doing, because I think your experience, and we've all experienced this who are involved in the process, that there are very good intentions at times. And by times it hits to them, they're looking at us going, what the heck were you thinking? Please, how about you do me a favor and do nothing? Doing nothing might be better than helping me out. Like, do less. Just don't do it. Just resist the urge. So I say that because we talk about accountability as this negative aspect. And that is true because we see people leaving the district, right?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of ramifications for that. So I just want to make sure when I wanted there was a positive aspect to it as opposed to the perception of negativity toward it, and I'll let you continue.
Well, I know I can tell you that in speaking to our new superintendent, she is very focused on efficiencies. And she's not just looking at efficiencies financially. She's looking at efficiencies in the district. The more efficient we can be in the time that is spent, the better right, that we can, the better the district is run. So I know these are things that she's looking at. To be fair to the superintendent, she has not been in a year yet and has already done a ton. So as she continues to move forward, I know that some of these efficiencies and some of these things, like you said, being buried in paperwork, she is aware that is conversations that I've heard myself in with her, as well as, you know, just how can we make things efficient so that we're still doing the best, even though we might not have as much, especially with enrollment going down, right? So how do we maximize what this district can do, even if we have minimal to work with? And that includes our time and our teachers' time, because if we have less teachers in the classroom, then that's a little bit more on them. So how do we make that not the case? To your point.
Hi, good evening. My name is Grace Trujillo. I've been a public health nurse for like 20 plus years. I've worked in different counties, worked in Ventura County. I've seen a lot of board meetings, and I understand how you feel. I'm more the same way. I like to do things. If you have complaints, you have solutions, because I believe you can move forward. I've worked in the LA school district as well, as a school nurse. They tried to hire me here, but my passion is different. I'm trying to help find solutions so people can stay in the school district system, because I've seen a lot of them having negativity and trying to remove their business as a solution. So I'm more concerned about people who has no option but to stay in the school district. So I want it to be more productive and more healthy environment for the students, specifically in the health-wise. My question is, my friend texted me just this one, and I have a different one. She said she really admire you as a person, and she's asking if your vision and how do you see your board will function. That's her question, but I have a lot of ideas I wanted to present to you. I don't know if I could do it later on, because it's kind of like, I thought there was no Wi-Fi here. I have a presentation in my laptop. So
Okay.
I wanted to give you some solutions and ideas, because I've had, thinking about like health-wise for the students. We had a project before regarding the nutrition. We're trying to lower the diabetes and the obesity rate, and we found out like incorporating in their class, and then building it like a garden, and then they used it in the cafeteria. But we've done that in Ventura. Not sure if you can use collaborate with any communities that are free to like the public health nurses can come into the school and teach. I've done that before, regards to the health. You know, there's a lot that we don't know that we can utilize actually, that we can help make the school district really good, especially in Henderson area. So, I mean, if you have time, I can show
Okay.
you. That's my thing.
What was
I
your
like solutions.
What was your name again?
Grace Trujillo.
Grace?
Yeah.
Thank you, Grace. I love that you came with solutions. I love that you have ideas. And if there's one thing I have noticed about our new superintendent is she is talking to community members. She is having meetings with them. She's letting her staff sit down and talk to folks and say, what do you got for us? And I think that, first of all, yes, I would love to see your presentation, but also I think it would be great to get that in maybe an email and start a conversation there and see who the best person to connect you with would be. Because again, I don't do like the operational, but I can absolutely try to connect you with somebody who could actually like really do something with that, right? As far as your friend's message, she's very kind. In terms of my vision, if you would, I think that things are going well. I think that our vice president did a great job in her role, and we are moving in a good direction, and I want to keep that going with with an emphasis to get things done. And what I mean by that is, as we continue to move forward, we have a facilities master plan that's it's big, and it requires a lot of feedback from the community. There's so much that we need to continue to discuss and frankly probably change. We were going down a trajectory as a district, and then enrollment started to decline. So now we're having to stop and relook at that. That's a big deal. We have a new superintendent who has a vision, and we are creating a strategic plan that works for our kids and for our staff and our faculty. So we're looking at those things, and we hope to get a lot of that moving this year. These are big items, and it's going to take a lot of work from not just our district folks, but from a dedicated board and from an engaged community. So as long as the community keeps doing what you're doing tonight, you've come out, you have things to say, and as long as we're letting our voices connect, and the board continues to do what we're doing, and our superintendent has the energy to keep doing what she's been doing, I think that the vision is to get a lot done this year. We want to take it from where we're already in this trajectory, and we kind of want to skyrocket that. Like, I want to see that go a lot faster. I want to see it, just want to see it happen. And I know that that is in line with Superintendent Ebert. So thank you. I'll look for you after. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't think I need a mic because I'm pretty loud. My name is Carolyn Edwards. I'm a former trustee of the Clark County School District. I have 2 children who went through the whole school system, one with special needs, and this district outdid Fairfax County in Virginia, where we came from, by a long shot. So kudos to the school district for doing great work. I have 2 questions for you. The first is, given term limits, you lose a lot of historical knowledge on a board. One of the most important jobs that you have as a trustee is the evaluation of the superintendent. We had at one point in time a system for evaluating the superintendent that was exceptional. It started under Trustee Moulton. When we shifted from policy governance to balanced governance, which happened while I was on the board, we stopped doing evaluations because we really didn't have a system in place. And I think it's really important to get back to that. So the first question is, how do you see the evaluation of the superintendent happening? And hopefully the board will hold the superintendent accountable for student achievement. And the second piece is this one. It's also important for the board to do a self-evaluation. Yep. And that's been lost. And I wonder if that's going to come back. So, two evaluation questions.
So you should be encouraged. Not all is lost. We already did we recently did our own evaluations recently. And that was an interesting process. You learn a lot about self-bias, right? And it was great, and we're going to continue to do them. A lot of the, in the balanced governance, it includes our superintendent evaluation. So when we vote on our policies, when we are done, they're voted on, they will be public documents, and so will all of the reference material, if you would, including the surveys, so, or the evaluations, I'm sorry. So we're bringing it all back. It's already been, we've already said this is what we're doing. It's just a matter of when the first one's gonna be. And I think, Trustee Cavazos is here, maybe her memory is better than mine. I wanna say we're scheduled to give Superintendent Ebert her first one maybe in March or April. Yeah, because she's been here since March, if I recall, in the spring. So it's already on the docket for us, yeah. Thank you. Good question. Anybody else?
I actually have a question.
Yes.
I wasn't going to ask any questions, so I was just going to listen. But I actually have a question, that's all.
Good evening.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
When you said that you're redoing policies, when the board's looking at policies, it made me think, because every day in the work that we do, the policies affect us on a daily, everything we do every minute, we have to make sure that we're following the policies, our school's following the policies. So as the board is redoing the policies or looking to refine them, are you getting input from principals and the people that are every day doing the work? And what is that gonna look like? To make sure that the policies are reflective of common sense in our everyday work.
So when I say that we are redoing policies, I'm talking about board governance policies. So, no, that's okay. I should have clarified.
I thought
So
you meant the policies and regulations, because
that,
some of them are very old too.
yes, so that is the district. That is Joan and her team working together to determine, again, efficiencies is what they're looking at to see what policies might need to change. The other thing that the team has been doing a lot is updating, you said they're old, updating certain policies and regulations, right? Because we have some, you'll see them in our agendas and we approve them pretty quickly because we get briefed on them beforehand, understanding that these are already in place, but we need to reword some things so that they actually match NRS. Because NRS got updated, Nevada State Legislature changed their policies, and now public education needs to follow suit. And sometimes in the past, we've seen some of those things, those words not get changed. So you'll see some district policies get changed or regulations get changed. You'll see it on the agenda, but when I say we're changing policies, we're talking about the board governance policies that kind of dictate how we do our business as a board. But what I would say to you is I don't know this for sure, but I believe that when the superintendent is looking to make changes that she knows is going to affect you as an admin or our support staff or our educators, she often will do another survey or something. And if you feel like that's not happening, that's something we should talk about because I think she'd want to know that. I think that's really important. So you bring up a good point.
Oh no, she's done a great job so far.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about the policies.
That's okay.
Okay. I apologize.
That's okay.
No, she's been amazing.
Any questions over here? Got this table of ladies.
Just here to learn. We have another question.
Yes. Hi.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My name's Alicia Bandalote, and also a nurse, but in surgery. But this is not my question, this is my friend's question, so I'm just gonna read it for you. Her question is, can we ban critical theory from all curriculum?
That's a very broad critical theory. I mean, which critical theory? So that's a tough question. First of all, when it comes to, one of the things that you should let your friend know is that when it comes to what we teach in the schools, we're talking about curriculum, that is the State Board of Education. State Board of Education determines what curriculum we use to teach. So I would say that if she wants to get a little bit more specific, that would probably be a better question for State Board of Ed. Anybody else?
Emily,
Yes, Sheila.
I just want to let you know, Carolyn and I work with a group called ABC, A Better Choice, because several years ago we had some board members that, I will use the word rogue, and it was really hard for quite a while. And so in 2020, right as we had our COVID situation, a group of former trustees got together and we began to vet candidates. And I just want people to know that on January 28th, ABC is going to have a meeting for anybody that would be interested in running for the board. We're, again, so appreciative of what the board's doing right now. But if people want to run, I think they need to know exactly what they're up against. I don't know about you, Emily, but most people are surprised at the amount of time that it takes. So I have some flyers. If you know of anyone or would be interested, that you can pick up tonight. That's just personal PSA.
Surprised is an understatement. I will tell you the ABC PAC is great. If you do know anybody who's thinking about running, they really should go to that meeting. It was the very first thing I went to when I started my campaigns, and I did learn a lot at your meeting. And so I definitely, on the record, like I recommend anybody to go learn from you ladies. Yes, absolutely. If there's no more questions, I can kind of, yeah, you got something, Ed? Okay.
So one of the things I've been appointed to, and I looked it up because you asked earlier, I sit on the stakeholder advisory group for Region 3 for the facility master plan. And I know we met a couple times in the spring, and I know you've had a lot of meetings onto it. There's a lot of, I would say, rumors, because all they're doing is seeing some of the updates onto it, right? We've seen the population come down, you have open enrollment, so it's not even just the district population dropping, it's the fact that movement from within it, you know, the legislature was very, very wanting to let parents choose, especially affecting the school district within the public schools. I know principals have talked a little bit about that. Can you give an update of what's been told to the board and what your understanding of it is since you're board president?
The understanding of
Like where the process is right now? Like
for open enrollment?
No, for the facility master plan.
Well, I can tell you what we did. I mean, we had the facility master plan in front of us, and it said, these are all the schools that we have determined, that facilities determine need to be upgraded or replaced, like torn down and just completely replaced. And there was also some maintenance ones on there, like these need like brand new AC units and stuff, because all this money comes out of the bond. Now, I sit on the bond, I don't sit on it, I'm the liaison for the Bond Oversight Committee. And so this stuff gets talked about a lot. So if you're ever interested in what's going on with the facilities master plan, hop on a Bond Oversight Committee meeting. You will, it's riveting. So when you get through it and you see all of these things, it's very, very expensive. We have a lot of old buildings. We have a lot of not just old buildings that need replaced or need a big facelift. You got to start thinking about oh God, what was it? It was the freezers. The freezers were super expensive because of the type of freezers that they had, and they don't make them anymore. So it was a brand new piping. It was a whole thing. So I was like, man, this is really, really expensive. And then we're seeing the decline in enrollment. So if we keep spending money on redoing or renewing all of these schools, and we spend all of this money, but we continue to have a drop in enrollment, how are we going to pay back the bond? How are we gonna survive? Because we're a pay per pupil state. So the less pupils, less money we have to do the work. So what ended up happening that I recall is that we said we were gonna put a pause on some of this. The facilities said, look, the facilities department said, if you don't do this with these schools, this will happen. So we said, okay, we approve for those schools to go ahead and get their facelift or to be replaced. But there were other schools on there that weren't they were on the timeline for a little bit later, and we said, we're gonna pause. And that is where these meetings are coming through, where they're trying to get community input. So, Clarence, this community input that we're talking about here is huge for the school district because we're trying to figure out what to do with some of these older schools. There's certain parts of town where you'll have an elementary school here and an elementary school here, right? And the enrollment is declining, and it's hard on the educators. It's hard on the admin who have to manage those budgets. And you look at it and you go, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But there was a time where there was so many young children in that area, and so they needed those schools. Do we need them now? These are questions we have to ask. These are questions that the district is asking you as the parents. Would you be comfortable if maybe we did this? They're floating around a lot of different ideas. We've seen what the charters have done with K through 8, and they're talking about that. Is that a solution? We don't know, but it's a conversation. And these conversations are what we're hoping to have with all of you. So when the district sends out stuff on social media, or you see it in your emails like, hey, come and talk about facilities, come and talk about dream for strategy, all of these different things, I promise you, your input absolutely matters. We have staff members that sit there, and we have a data guy is what we call him. He loves the data, he goes through it and tries to help determine what the community actually wants so that the district can make very informed decisions that make sense for the community as it is today, instead of making decisions based on what the community used to be. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay.
I just have one brief one.
Yeah.
So I sit on this committee, and you want to get input.
Yeah.
What's your expectation from the committee? Because you talked about bond oversight, and that's a little bit different. But I'm sitting here watching a presentation, and I feel like I don't want to say I'm a staff member, but I'm watching a presentation. Where's my opportunity to give input, if at all, in some of these presentations? But the question I have for you is, what's the expectation for when someone sits on a committee like this to go back up the chain so that when you guys, because ultimately the board will make a decision on this.
Mm-hmm.
What are you expecting from us?
So when was your last meeting?
The last one that I'm aware of, I want to say it was like in the spring, maybe April.
Okay, so that's not shocking just because we said we were going to pause.
Yeah.
Since the pause, we have a third-party vendor. You'll have to forgive me, I can't think of the name of
No, I
them.
understand.
You know who they are. Anyway, that that vendor is taking all the data that they have for how many people are in the city, how many people are in the county, how many people, blah, 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 how many kids there are. So they're getting all that data, and they are working on presentations that they can go from district to district and hold meetings. So for you, specifically, you're saying, what can I do? What should I do? Two things.
What you're expecting from us. That's a different
Okay. So I will tell you.
I can do whatever I want. If I want
When-
I don't know what your expectation is.
So-
Because I am appointed by somebody from the district, so I wasn't appointed by a trustee. They said, I think your voice is valued.
Yeah,
And so I'm wondering, what is your expectation from us when you get that information?
communication. For me, like, I'll give you an example. This last board meeting, we had to approve the recommendations from the recommendation committee for the sex ed committee. I know that's very confusing, but it's what it is. So basically what you do is you have your trustees appoint people to a recommending committee. Those are your appointees. That recommending committee reads applications from community members who want to sit on the sex education committee. And upon reading those applications and so on and so forth, they have discussion, they say, these are our recommendations, and they push that to the board. It was, oh goodness, I want to say it was like 126 pages long or something. It was 400 pages long. There you go. Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. It was very long. So on top of all the other things in that agenda, did I have time to read through all 400? No, I skim, but I don't have time to read 400 pages. What do I rely on? The person that I appointed to the recommending committee. That's my person. So I reach out to that person and I say, hey, tell me about your experience. Give me a rundown of your experience reading these applications. Tell me how the discussions went. Give that to me. That is helpful. Because reading 400 pages is just, it's a lot. So in this scenario, I look at it kind of like that. We didn't appoint you, but the district said you're a valuable voice, and they want your voice, we want it too. So just like everybody else here in the room and everybody else in Clark County, you can send us an email. You can send us a text message if you want. Our phone numbers are on there. You can do this. So what my expectation is that, one, you say, hey, district, I haven't met since April. You put me on this committee. When's our next one? I would do that. And I'm going to do it too now because I didn't realize that. And number two, tell us, hey, Emily, I just want you to know I read through this, or I was at this meeting, I saw this presentation, and you should know I thought this was great, but this concerns me, whatever. But we need your input. Yes. Holy cow.
In a follow-up for the facilities conversation, is there any conversation that's happening about a lot of these schools that were built in the same era? They have like a attraction. Like our kids go to Vanderburg, and there is a biosphere. Another elementary down the street has like a space place. There's the mine, the School of Mines. And I don't know if the other schools are having the same experience, but the parents are expected to keep that biosphere alive through donations and activities that are there. And if and then because of COVID, like the biosphere kind of died. And so since then, we've kind of spent the last 4 years raising money to take care of the biosphere, even though none of the kids were getting to enjoy the biosphere, getting those extra lessons that were supposed to be happening. And then the field trips weren't coming either, so it wasn't benefiting other schools either. But even our own kids in our own school were never spending time in that biosphere. And it was kind of with this like, oh, it's gonna open, we're gonna refresh it, it takes all this money. But they were built in an era where that kind of made sense, kind of like the Strip with their attractions. And now it seems like it's just this burden on the school to keep it functioning, but then you have this invested, structure that doesn't sustain itself, and what do you do with it now? And so I'm curious if any of that facilities conversation goes towards what to do with these schools and how to take the onus off of the parents, and because then it's dependent on your community too. Like Vanderburg has an affluent community around it, so, and we're all still also like, dude, this is a lot of money you're asking from us all the time.
Yeah.
And so I can't even imagine if there's other schools like that that are in a less affluent community, and they're also getting that onus put on the people instead of the school being able to sustain itself.
So I love these meetings for this stuff right here because I didn't know that. Being completely transparent, I had no idea. I do know that we have some older schools that have different spaces, but I didn't know that it was on the parents to keep some of those spaces up, according to what you're saying. And then it sounds like even after putting some funding towards it, it's still not really being used.
So I have a 5th grader, and it's our last year there. But my junior high now student, she didn't ever step foot into that biosphere because she was there during COVID and then when it was closed. And we were still doing all these fundraising to try to keep it open. Now we're starting to see, I think they're really trying hard to bring life back to it, but we're still doing fundraising. They started a docent program, and it's really great, I think, for the handful of docents that are getting this leadership experience. And they're giving field trips to kids within our school. They've started to invite Twitchell, which is one of the schools where they built it right next door to each other.
Yep.
Which is wild. And so we're starting to see an inkling of maybe, but like it still kind of feels a little ridiculous for the amount of energy and consumption of funds that it takes, and for it's like bang for buck. It's just not really there. Like there's probably way better stuff we could be doing with it. And then also knowing that there's communities that are more in need than Vanderburg, I also don't necessarily want school district funds to support that. Like we have Chromebooks, we have all these things that a lot of other schools might not have. So it just feels like a waste. And how can we fix that? I don't know. It just feels gross, kind of.
No, I appreciate that. So I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna figure out. I'd like to talk to Joan and her team, Superintendent Ebert, and see what this looks like. when I look at a facility master plan, like when I look at the documents, I'm looking at like spreadsheets. I'm looking at numbers, and not one time have I seen the word biosphere. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing to look at, you know, that we have community-generated funds, and it's being used towards something that may not be actually utilized to the capacity that either, and it doesn't sound like, and I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like you care that much to use it as a parent. I don't know about the teachers, but I can find out. That's one of the things I'd like to learn more about.
I feel like if it's gonna be there, it should be this like really rich experience. It's benefiting a ton of kids. And it's not. If the bang for buck was there, then I think we would all be behind it. It could be a very useful space, but you know, with all the other things that teachers and stuff have to do, I think there's also not time to dedicate towards that, because you can't, you know, there's only so many field trips, and there's only so many hours that people can put into nourishing, like watering that seed.
Okay. So if it's okay with you, after this, can I get your email? And I'll see what I can find out and try to get you an update, or at least start a conversation that maybe hasn't been had yet. Thank you for that.
This is just a small one. I'll be remiss if I don't go down this alley, but again, I started out by saying I'm a newcomer to the area, right? And newcomers, we have concern about our schools. I don't have kids, but I've been through it, been on school board, et cetera, in another location. But here's where I'm going. Living in a state where we are ranked, I'd like to hear more conversation about moving that number. Because let me go back to myself. Moving in the community and have a conversation with educators. My ex-wife is an educator, we talk. And now we start talking numbers and states that I'd like to be in those numbers that are up there. Let me just try to say, and I think more people should start having conversations about getting us, moving our rankings up. I know that's a priority to you, Madam President, but I just want to say that everyone and my colleagues that are listening, they know I have the same conversation about this, because I'm truly concerned about moving those numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clarence. So this is definitely something that gets talked about often. So thank you for bringing it up. A couple of things. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for, you know, our school district not being higher, but I do think it's important to educate the community on why some of these numbers are what they are. I don't think that everybody fully understands when the state legislature says, or it's not the state, it's the State Board of Ed, I believe, that says this is what we're going to measure you on. Okay, and so when they make those determinations, and by the way, they haven't changed it since I think like the 90s or something like that, right? So we're getting measured on a very old process. What's great is we have a brand new state superintendent, Dr. Wakefield. He actually presented at our board recently, and he is trying to make those changes to make it more relevant to our school districts today. And so it's another survey, but I would definitely ask everybody to like tell your neighbor, tell your friend, if you can get on there and say, hey, these are some of the things that I think our students should be measured on. I'll give an example of one, and I'll say this publicly, and some people will disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. And not everybody's always going to agree with me, and I'm not always going to say the right thing. But one of the measurements is chronic absenteeism. I don't think that it's fair that our school district and that our educators get graded on, if you would, that our number, our ranking is determined by something that we cannot control. None of us can control if mom and dad or grandma and grandpa make that kid go to school, get on the bus, whatever. It is a very hard thing for a school district to control. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't still be doing the outreach that the school district has been making a huge effort on by getting kids in school. But we have seen a significant drop since COVID, honestly, and that really hurts our numbers. There's other things. From a high school level, back when, I believe it was Governor Brian Sandoval, I think when he was our governor, he had this huge initiative, like, we believe all of our kids should be at this level, they should all be college ready, so everybody has to take the ACT. That also affects our numbers. How many of you, I can tell you mine, have had high schoolers, high school students, that said, I don't want to go to college, that's not my plan. But because they're mandated to take the ACT, if they don't care, that drops the numbers significantly. And my kids didn't want to go to college. They want to go in the workforce. They want to do different things. And so there are some things, again, I'm not making excuses for our district, but I do think it's important that we as a community have a better understanding of where some of these numbers come from. There are some things that are a little out of our control right now that we are so grateful for Dr. Wakefield coming in and saying, hey, let's change this. Let's make this relevant to today, and let's hold our districts to a high standard, but let's make sure it's relevant to where we are today. These things are very, very important. And then I would love to see the state legislature change the ACT rule and make it so that it's not part of, it's not mandated, so, but that's just me. Anyway, thank you, Clarence. We've got about, how many more minutes? We got 10 minutes? Anybody else?
Okay, we're here to learn. We're from an elementary school, we're part of PTA, very involved. Can you explain to me, we're very involved with our principal, our teachers' curriculum. What is your role with us as parents and as like an elementary school? Like, what do we come to you for, or
I love this question.
How are we involved with each other?
Yes, I love this question. So I'm your representative. If you're in District A, I'm your representative. You have another, if you're in Henderson, you also have another representative, which is Trustee Ramona Esparza-Strafagan. She is also a trustee for the Henderson area. I'm District A, which is parts of Henderson, Boulder City, Searchlight, Laughlin. Yeah, that's right. So it's a lot. So when you start thinking about that, that's a lot of parents, it's a lot of students, but that's what we're here for. That's my district, and that's where I live, it's where my kids went to school. So I'm here to represent you. So if I try to tell folks, if you have a problem at your school, you should start with your district level folks. You should start with the teacher, the principal, and so on and so forth. If you feel like you're not being heard, hit me up. You can email me, you can call me. I have constituents reaching out regularly. I had a student reach out from, I think is it Foothill? I don't remember. It was one of the high schools. One of her assignments is to interview someone who works for local government or something like that. So she emailed me and was like, hey, can I get some of your time? Of course you can. I'm here to serve you. That's my whole job. I don't work for the district, I work for you. So in that regard, think about, I'll use Foothill as an example. They have a very heavily involved PTA. So they invite me to a lot of their meetings, and I went to one the other day, and I think I was there for 2 hours just answering questions. But that's because they're very passionate, and every parent is passionate about their kid, right? And you have questions, and you want to know that things are better or gonna be better, or things are good, and how can we help? Like, I got a lot of parents saying exactly what Clarence asked, like, how can I get involved? These are all great questions and great conversations to have. So if you need anything, I'm your rep, and so is Trustee Esparza-Strafagan, so anything you need. And so is actually Trustee, I knew it was Lisa, I couldn't think of her last name. Trustee Satori is the appointed for the county as well, for Clark County. So she's like over everything in that regard. So we have our electeds. I was elected. Trustee Ramona was appointed by Henderson, and then Trustee Lisa Satori was appointed by the county.
So things like curriculum, testing, we would go to you, or is that handled elsewhere?
You can, but if you come to me about curriculum, I'm probably gonna point you to the state Board of Education, yeah. But all things CCSD related, I do say if you can start with your principal, if you can start with your admin, that's a great place to start. Yeah, I saw your hand go up.
I think you answered my question, my friend's question already, but I wanna piggyback on that gentleman's, blue, shirt.
Clarence, yeah.
Regarding about, the ranking, because that is really concerning. And I remember hearing someone in one of the speech, this is from, Wallet House State, Bessenmore School System. We're ranked 48th out of 51 states, 50 states. And I said, how about the basic reading, math, and science? We're like average 45, 34. That's like very concerning. Are we like the kids are not able to read basic reading, basic math, and science? So maybe there's a concern about that one, because if that's what I'm hearing, most of the parents that take their kids out of school is their kids are not learning really the basic things. So I know you're saying it's gonna be a school board, or the education, state education is in regards to curriculum. But I believe you have something to say about that too, because you said you care about the students, so now that is concerning, because it looks like out of all the state, our kids are not that.
So there's a lot of things to consider there. And I'm not going to go into the weeds on this one, even though there's a part of my brain that wants to. What I will say is this. This district has definitely faced some challenges over the more recent years, and COVID certainly did not help. We've had some challenges in the past with different boards, different leadership. We are coming out of it, that is for sure. What's great is our new superintendent, while she's been here less than a year, has a very clear vision for academia. That is her strength. And if there's one thing about Superintendent Ebert, she is she's an educator. She loves kids, but she's an educator. And what we're talking about, what we're working on, and what you will see come before the board very soon through a strategic plan is how to get that number up. She and her team are working. I've already seen some of it, talked to her about some of it, but we're gonna wait till we make it public. But like, there's a strategic plan that is being worked on right now on how to get those numbers up. Reading and math, especially in elementary and middle school, are huge. And then in high school, we're looking at college readiness and workforce development. So these are big areas that, if I'm just being frank, it's going to take more than this 1 year to move the needle, right? We need continued collaboration, maybe a little patience, but we are going to get there. I have no doubt in my mind. And I just think that we're on the right trajectory. And thankfully, we do have, even though Ed's not wrong, like sometimes when the state gets involved, you're like, oh my God, please don't touch it, right? But they care. The state wants to see improvement in education. They do. And that's helpful. It's good to know that everybody right now is kind of all hands in on education, and we're trying to fix this thing. So I do believe that you're going to see some changes and some better numbers in the near future.
We've always been in the lower rankings. Is that not correct? I mean, I grew up here, and I feel like we've never been in the higher rankings, so it's not like we've dropped.
We started
Like I
doing
said,
better.
We've always been at the lower end of the national rankings, so I think it doesn't feel the same as if like, oh yeah, we were, 25 before and now we're 48. Like, we've always been lower, I think, and so there's only room to grow, but it's not like, oh, we were doing things so well before and we didn't. This is like deep-rooted history of Nevada, history of our state being small before. Like, we grew a lot, and I think it's a
We did.
expectation to all of a sudden perform like a better established city. when we don't have the history of that. So, yeah, we can still set our expectations high, but we also have to acknowledge that, like, the problems are really deep-rooted and have been there for a long time.
1 second, Clarence. Give me a minute to respond.
Is that a correct assumption? Like, I
It's
don't- I
not
can't say
fully
that,
correct.
but okay.
It's not fully correct. There's definitely been some good years. I can tell you, I saw data, and I'll even let these wonderful ladies who were once trustees as well kind of talk about some of their time at the school district. But I saw data back when I was running. There was this, you would know him. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He had this graph, and he was showing us like where the school district was at different times, and when we saw the district really kind of decline. And he equated it and he was trying to make a point, but when he was showing all the different variables that kind of led to these numbers, one of the most consistent things he saw was educators, how many educators we had in the district. And when we started losing educators, we started to see that decline. It has taken us, I mean, Superintendent Ebert said just recently, that we're finally in, we're in the, 98%? Fully, what's the staffing? Yeah, so we're starting to see some of that incline again. But another thing to think about, this city is a very, very interesting city. We are still kind of new. We haven't figured out healthcare, and we're trying to figure out education. And so everybody says if you're dying at the parking lot at a particular hospital, go to the airport. That's the joke, right? And that's the joke because we are a new city. We're still young. We're still figuring it out. But the other thing is we grew exponentially fast, and we're still growing. We have a lot of people moving to Vegas still. And when you have that level of growth, your local government is trying to figure out infrastructure before they're working on grades. And I hate to say that, and it sucks to say, but there were certain times where we saw so much growth. We built a lot of schools very quickly, just trying to keep up, and that was the focus. And unfortunately, it sucked up a lot of money too, so we didn't have as many educators. So you see all of these different things that kind of led us to where we are today. And now we're starting to see the decline in enrollment, and we're taking a breath and going, okay, how do we move forward? And that's exactly what's happening right now. It's actually a very exciting time to be part of the school district, I believe. But I would like to let these wonderful ladies talk just a little bit about how the school district was.
We're just sitting here just going like this. I served from 98 to 2010. We built 116 schools. 1 year we opened 18 new schools. Now can you imagine? 1 year Georgianne Rice hired 3,000 teachers. You can imagine the rezoning. I got on the board because my kids went da-da-da-da-da, and we never moved. And I was just telling Carolyn, back in the 90s and the 80s, we were top-notch. And that growth brought great, wonderful diversity, okay? And we went from a majority to a minority population. And second language learners were everywhere. We had the largest class sizes, I think, of anywhere. But we also don't put much money. I remember going to a thing with Miss Ebert, and she was telling us she came from New York. $20,000 per student. We finally got up to $9,000. I mean, I could go on about this because education's my passion, but we're coming up from 49th and 50, okay? And we're gonna have to take it step by step. But I know this new board and this new superintendent, if we get behind them. So I'll let
Thank you,
Karen
Sheila.
say a minute too. You're just about out of time. So.
Yeah, but so there's another piece to this, and the other piece is that the state does not fund education like it should. And I have said that for the 12 years I sat on the board. And I believed we should have sued the state.
You did.
We did not sue the state, but I believed we should have sued the state. We are one of 5 states in the country that has not sued their state over education funding. Massachusetts has one of the best education systems in the country, and Maryland has one of the best education systems in the country, and their per pupil funding is double ours. And the state needs to step up. And I started talking about this
What's their
in
property tax?
2003. I went to the legislature in 2003 and said we need a 10-year plan. We're in 2025 and we don't have a plan to increase funding for. So one of the things that happened when I was a trustee was we had huge budget cuts. How does the fastest way to deal with a budget cut in a school district is to increase class size.
Yeah.
So you hire less teachers because you put more kids in the classroom. That's going to affect student achievement. It's going to affect teacher satisfaction in terms of happy with their jobs. So that's another piece, and it lands squarely on the shoulders of your legislators.
I'm going to let Ed make a comment, and then I'm going to close this out.
So she mentioned ACT scores, and I know the trustees remember, I think it was Lucy Flores' bill, to make everyone take the ACT. There's a bias in national rankings. So you have a high school principal here, and they all take that test. A lot of kids aren't going to go to college. They don't take the test seriously. We compare that to states who only take the ACT when they're preparing to go to college. So New York and LA Unified. If you change that law and said, we're just going to have people who are going to go, we're going to do a different test, our ranking would shoot up. We've done nothing different. If we did $20,000 and paid for just said we're going to do $20,000 per kid, and achievement stayed flat because we put more money into it, our ranking would go up. Nothing's really changed. If we cut the money in half and our ranking stayed the same, so achievement stayed the same and we somehow gave them nothing, it would drop. The fact that we're a working class community and we don't have a lot of people are college educated dings us. So even when you talk about when we're 48th and 49th and things of nature, and the reason why I used to work in the legislature in the time she's talking about is understandable. There's a lot of stuff you start learning about saying, we're really not comparing it. So the same apples to apples. So there are a lot of times where the district gets dinged for something, where if you go to the state, they say, we're probably middle of the road. Because I'm almost from Osage. I went to school at LA Unified. And I went to the same time there in the 90s, buildings exploding, population going through the roof. And it's really hard to have an apples and apples comparison to another state when we're not really doing the same thing. And so it's really where we say, are we really that bad? No. But the perception is that we have other opportunities, right? It's the perception of it, and the perception of your school. Like, I have, I got a child I'm raising who goes to Green Valley High. I'm also involved on the east side. I'm on the PTO too. We just started, so I'm always excited to see parents. But it's on the east side of town. It's extraordinarily hard to do it. It's a whole different set of challenges. But it doesn't mean we can't succeed. And so I'm trying to be more hopeful, and I joke with Carolyn Edwards, because when I first met her, I had a very different mindset. And we don't necessarily agree on things, but you know, it doesn't mean you can't have a conversation, and I'm gonna be quiet now.
Well, so this was a great conversation, guys. I absolutely loved it. I feel like we all kind of learned together on a few things, and we got to learn from each other, which is also great. Makes my heart happy. And I got to learn a little bit about you. One of the things that Sheila said just a minute ago, and I'm gonna kind of generalize it because I don't want to say it wrong, but I was there when Superintendent Ebert was talking about her time in New York. And so when you talk about comparing apples to apples, you know, New York is a bigger district than we are, but they're ranked higher. But yes, they're about $20,000 per pupil. That said, she told us that her mortgage was pretty decent, but her property tax, I think, was like more than her mortgage or something like that. Yeah, it was something insane, right? Her property tax, I believe, was more than her mortgage. And so I think she was being interviewed. It might have been the Indy one, could have been, can't remember. But when she was being interviewed on this, she looked at him and said, if Nevada taxpayers don't want to pay more in taxes, and we don't, let's be honest, we don't want to. I cannot see our local folks saying, yes, we'll raise taxes for education. So if that's the case, at least right now, if that's where we're at, because most people move here because of our tax system, right? That's why they like it here. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. I could be wrong. But if that's the case, then we as a community have got to figure out how we can do more with less, because that's where we're at. And that's what we're trying to do. So when you hear about the SOUP wanting to do efficiency studies and things like that, that's why. You're trying to figure out how we can do more with less. And so I hope that you will continue to join us on this endeavor to do that and to make this truly a destination district, so that more teachers want to come here and teach, more students want to come to our schools, and more parents want to put their kids in our schools. I really appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you.